All right, here we go. Today we have Bay Area hustling royalty in the building. The man behind the multi-billion-dollar international cannabis brand Cookies, as well as having a successful rap career that garnered hundreds of millions of streams and collabs with some of the biggest artists in the game. Berner, welcome back to Vlad TV.
What a great intro. Thank you, Vlad.
Of course, man. Well deserved. You know, my Bay Area brother.
Yes, sir.
You know, I love how we do our thing and have made our name out there and so forth.
And we're still going.
We're still going.
Yeah.
We're still going. It's always like when someone from the hometown does it, it's just like it's a little more special.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have a new book, Becoming Legend. Get Rich and Leave a Legacy. Why that name, first of all?
You know, I feel like when I run into people, the most commonly asked thing of me, or the most commonly talked about subject with me, is like, I want some advice on business, and can you give me some game on, like, you know, branding and whatnot. So I feel like it was important, especially after my cancer battle, to lay out the blueprint for people, right? At least explain the way I got to where I'm at.
Well, it's an interesting book. And let's talk about your childhood.
Yeah.
So where'd you grow up?
I grew up between San Francisco, California, and Arizona.
Right, because your parents split up.
Mm-hmm.
One of them went to Arizona, other one California, so you were hopping back and forth.
Yeah.
Now, Arizona was different for you.
For sure.
What was the biggest thing about Arizona?
The biggest thing about Arizona is I grew up really fast there. Like, I was a very innocent kid out here in 5th grade in the Bay Area, and when I went to AZ, it was like everything was moving super fast.
Right, you see you got gamed up out there.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, like, I don't think people really give Arizona their props as far as like a hustling city, right? Like, it's by border towns. It's like people were really hustling out there when I got there. People were living very fast. I think that's also like what happens in the suburbs, at least from my experience. So just smoked weed at a very early age and started hustling at a very early age. And I was around a bunch of people that had big brothers as well. So I feel like it just kind of like things just started happening a little faster for me out there.
Right, 6th grade. That's when you started smoking weed and doing acid.
Yeah.
That's pretty young, especially with the acid part.
It's really young.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really young. Like I that's why I said I grew up too fast. I shouldn't have been doing that way back then, you know?
Right. Now, when did it get from doing to actually selling?
I mean, pretty right away. You know, my homeboy's older brother has like sell candy as almost like as a joke. He's like, yo, take this candy, go flip it, you know? So we had like Snicker bars and M&Ms and shit like that, like at 6th grade at school. And then shortly after, by the time it was like 7th, 8th grade, we're selling acid, right? So it's like, that happened fast. But it's just like part of what we were doing out there. It's like what I was around.
Okay, so you're selling acid in 8th grade, and you're obviously not making it.
No.
You're buying it from a guy, so you're buying sheets of it.
Yeah,
right?
$100.
$100 for a sheet.
Yeah.
And how many hits on each
100.
sheet? So for a dollar a hit, that's how much you're paying.
Yeah.
$1 per hit, and you're selling it for
6, 7.
6, 7.
That's a lot of money for a kid.
Right. Especially if you go through the whole sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But you're getting in trouble. Someone tries to do a citizen's arrest on you.
Yeah. Yeah. At a park in Arizona, I'm sitting there with my boy smoking a J, and this guy on a bike rides by. He's like, nice marijuana, motherfucker. Jumps off the bike. Mid-ride. Jumps off and tackles me. Tries to hold me down. Told me he's going to citizens arrest me. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? He's like, you're going to go to jail, pal. I'm like, oh my God. So Arizona's like it was a blessing and curse, I guess.
Okay. And not only are you selling, but you're still using.
Yeah.
So, for example, you're high on acid in high school.
In class.
In class.
Yeah.
Teacher sees your eyeballs are huge.
Yeah.
So you get expelled?
Nah, it's just kind of weird. Like, I guess that day, my teacher lent me a pencil. And at the end of class, he's like, where's my pencil? I'm like, frying balls. I'm like, I don't know where my pencil is. And he was like, you lost my pencil? I'm like, having a bad trip. I'm like, yeah, I lost your pencil. And he called security on me for losing my pencil.
Okay.
And then the security guard picks me up. He's like, I can't believe this guy even called me for this. He's driving like the little go-kart, a golf cart. He's like, I can't believe he even called me for this. He's like, don't worry, principal's probably gonna just let you go or whatever. I'm like, cool. He's like, what's up with your eyes, man? I'm like, what do you mean what's up with my eyes? Like, your pupils are huge. I'm like, nah, they're not. He's like, oh yeah, you're on something. what are you on? I'm like, nothing. So I get to the principal's office, and he's tripping on me too, and they think I'm on something. And they call my mom. My mom came, and she told me, like, yo, like, why would you guys even hate on him like this? You guys are just discriminating. This is how he always looks. You guys bring some bullshit on my son again, I'm going to call the school board. She brings me out of school that day, gets me in the car. She's like, what the fuck are you on? I'm like, I'm on acid. She's like, oh my God. You're going to go home. You're going to sit this shit out. And so I remember sitting there on my couch watching The Water Boy. She wouldn't let me get up. And I had the worst trip ever to that movie because I guess Bobby Boucher's voice and the characters in that movie were fucking me up. And I just wanted to get up and walk outside, but she wouldn't let me get up. So definitely a memory that sticks with me even to this day. When I see that movie, I'm like, nah, change it. I don't want to see this movie, you know?
Okay, but you ended up dropping out your senior year.
Yeah.
How close were you to graduating?
Super close.
But you decided to drop out.
I just wanted to work. I wanted to get some money, and I wanted to, like, just be out and about, and just, I was back in the Bay when I dropped out, and just, I had my own little program I was doing.
Okay, so now you're a high school dropout, living with your mom, trying to figure out what to do money-wise. So you start applying at dispensaries?
Yeah, so the way it worked, it was, at the time I dropped out, I was working at Tully's Coffee Shop in Cole Valley. I don't know if you know, it's like
really?
Cole and Carl and SF. And I was selling weed out of Tully's Coffee Shop, quarters, eighths, and stuff like that. Just kind of just neighborhood plug. At the same time, I was doing a bar back and a waiter at a place called Jelly's Cafe by Pier 50. And I soon started bartending. So I started bartending at 19 years old, making a good amount of money. I was working at Tully's and selling weed, making cool money, and then ended up stumbling into a dispensary to do a documentary. I wanted to make a documentary on the place and ended up getting hired there. So that's how I got into the dispensary game.
Okay, and what happened next?
What happened next was I started working at the Hemp Center on 12th and Geary, and I ended up quitting the coffee shop. I was doing bud tending and bartending Monday through Monday. So Monday through Friday, I'd be working at the dispensary, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'd get off work, go bartend at night. So just enjoying the hell out of life at that age. It's probably the best time I ever had.
Right, but at the same time, you're hustling.
Yeah, for sure.
And we talked about this in the book. You would do things like sneak half a zip of Coke through airlines.
Yeah, it was more for like personal use. So it wasn't like I was selling Coke like that. I was never like really selling Coke like that.
Okay, but you talked about how this was right when body scans came around.
Yeah.
So you had to stick the Coke. Basically,
you gotta get away with it, dog. You know what I'm saying? How to Catch a Smuggler. 2000.
In prison, they call this boofing.
Man, look.
When you stick it up your ass, basically.
It didn't go up. I just in between.
In between the cheeks?
Yeah, in between the cheeks.
Okay.
I never put anything up.
I guess that's a little better, sort of.
Man, listen. When you walked up and saw that, right? You saw the X-ray. You know you had a fat rock in your pocket. I was like, oh my God, I'm about to go to jail. It's insane. So yeah, but up like boofing, no, I probably would have died or something like that.
Right, because if the bag breaks, oh, you're done for.
Yeah, I'd be on an episode of one of those shows you see on Discovery Channel or something like that.
Now, did you start pimping right around this time?
Nah, my whole thing is like, you're from the Bay Area, right? And our Bay Area forefathers kind of preach that lifestyle, right?
Right.
And so for me, it was more like girls like who I was and like what I had going on and want to kind of impress me and buy me things and give me things like that. But I was never a full-fledged pimp like that. Fuck no.
Okay, but you did have girls that were bringing back money for you?
Not necessarily. I was dating girls that danced that just broke bread a little bit. Yeah, it was never like I was never on some like real pee shit per se. But our culture, the influence we grew up on, the Mac Dre's of the world, et cetera, kind of pushed that agenda. And naturally, just as being a rap cat that was kind of in that lifestyle, I was attracting women that kind of just had money and wanted to spend money type shit.
Okay, so you're working at legal weed shops and you're hustling on the side.
Yeah.
Your mom, unfortunately, passes away. And she leaves like $19,000 for you?
Yeah, so by the time my mom passed away, I was kind of playing with the hustling shit a lot more. It's a little more elevated than when I was a kid, the stuff we were just talking about. And around that time, I was getting fucked with at the airports all the time by the feds, et cetera. They pulled me out the plane, go through my bags, show me pictures of, bank deposits, weird shit. They were just on me about things that they thought I was doing. I guess they had their own perception of what I was doing. They were wrong. And when my mom passed away from cancer, I really took a step back from everything. I was like, look, I got a baby girl. I can't really put myself in jeopardy for going to jail. So I just had to focus on what I was doing with the music space, which was perfect because music started paying me right around that time. It was like perfect timing. That's the universe showing me love. And then I was just trying to build my shit up, and I got a call from my brother saying, we have some money left for us in the IRA account. And it was like $30,000, but if I cashed it prematurely, it would only turn out to be $19,000. So I took that $19,000 and I started what you see today, which is Cookies SF.
Okay, but didn't you also have some money buried in the backyard?
I used that for something else, yeah. 20 grand. Yeah,
How
20
much?
grand. 20 grand.
20 grand.
Yeah.
Literally buried in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So now you got, what, 40,000?
Well, I already spent the 20.
Okay.
I spent that before I used the 19 to invest in cookies, yeah.
All right, so now you have 19,000.
Mm-hmm.
Clean money.
Yep.
Why the name Cookies?
So around the time, there was a strain that came out, as you know, Cookies, and it was buzzing hard. And I was trying to think of a brand name for clothing. I thought about using the name Presidential. I thought about using different names that could be cool. And I was like, you know what? Cookies has such a familiar name to it, a ring to it, and feel to it. Let me go ahead and try to pop this off. And so it just made sense. It was something I played with. And shout out to my boy Shemp, photo doctor. I'm sure you know who that is. Bay Area legend. He did all the covers that we go up to.
Right.
He designed the first Cookies logo, and when I seen it, I was like, holy shit, this is going to stick. So it just felt right. I just kind of tried to pop that off.
Okay, so originally it was just a strain?
Yeah, it was Girl Scout Cookies, a strain.
Okay. How did that lead into an actual store?
Well, that would come much later. So you have the strain out popping, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm doing music, and so the music is starting to spread the knowledge of the strain and who's behind the strain. So that starts popping. Then you kind of pop off a brand with an identity and a look and a feel. That starts popping. And then there's motion behind the word Cookies, the name Cookies, the brand Cookies, behind myself. And the way it turned into a store is my boy in San Jose hit me up one day and said, listen, I'm growing all your stuff anyways. I have the Sunset Sherbet. I have the cookies growing in rotation. I'm doing a great job at it. I have a storefront in San Jose. How much would you charge me to paint the logo on the building? I'm like, fuck, I never even thought of that. So that's how we popped it off.
Okay. So are you a partner in that store at that point?
No, I wasn't a partner at all. I was just getting paid for him to use my logo.
Oh.
That was the first iteration of that.
Aha. So now you have a cookie store without putting any money up.
Exactly. And it was to the point to where there was lines down the block and the city was complaining about how busy that store was.
Huh.
He had the right weed. He was inviting people that I was fucking with on the music, like Snoop and Wiz by there. The store was starting to pop. Then the next group, which we'll just call the group, approached me and said, okay, we like what you're doing over there, but how will we give you this amount of money to change the whole store to a cookie store and pay you royalties on this? And if it works, we'll keep going, right? So the first version of it was like, let's just see if it works. I'll get a little brown bag from it. Cool, that was cute. Now it's super popping. Now we have a bigger group that has vertical integration in the whole medical marijuana space. They have a couple of storefronts and they want to get it popping.
Okay, so now you have investors.
No, it wasn't investors.
It was a group?
It was a group that already had storefronts and cultivation.
Huh.
And it was a licensing deal. It was like a real licensing deal.
Okay.
Yep. Name and likeness, licensing the brand as well. And they did a separate license deal for genetics as well.
So at what point does the real money start coming?
Well, that was great for me because in that deal, I ended up making like around 90 grand a month.
Wow.
And that was for about like 3 years.
So you're making $1 million a year at that point.
Yeah. And that was like just from that. And there were supposed to be royalties on the cannabis side of things as well, which kind of fell apart. They got away with the fact that, you can't really trademark genetics and it's still federally illegal as well. So we couldn't really enforce that as much as we wanted to. But you got millions of dollars a year coming in, right? The concept has now been proven that like, hey, a cookie store really works, right? These guys are making 30 plus million a year, right? And Cookies weed, when done right, really works. And so from there, I think around 2017, we actually brought in partners and investors. And by 2019, we're really rolling, right? Like we start actually building the business, which you see today, Cookies Enterprises.
Right. So now you actually co-own some of the stores with this next iteration?
Yeah, so that's the next iteration. The way we did it was on one store, I believe in Melrose and Maywood, we had an actual piece of it. But what we figured was it'd be more like a licensing deal again. We own all the IP now, right? We owned all the IP in the first place, but there was like confusion around who the brand was because there's multiple different groups. Now we have the IP in one building, and we're licensing the logo out, licensing the genetics out, and finding partners to actually operate. So we didn't own the stores. We just had a right to roll the stores up in the event of an IPO for stock or cash, and we had royalties coming in from the stores. So you don't really own it, but you have the right to purchase it at some point in time, which is kind of like owning it.